So looking at Bitcoin weekly chart, not too much to take note of at the moment. The main thing that we need to be watching out for is this fib draw right here. So this fib draw gives us the 1.618. And if you remember, I talked about how this is the um, kind of a long-term target for price action. Hold on, let me mute my Discord. 1 second. All right. So yeah, 1.618 on your weekly chart from your previous all-time high to your local low, 3.1K low gives you a 1.618 of 30.2K. So that's a much longer time frame target. All right, and so price action is currently heading there as we speak, and it has been consistently. Right, we're in price discovery. We're making all-time highs. Our daily market structure remains bullish, right? So higher highs, higher lows. So that's all you need to take note of for that. Our 4 hour is when we can actually start doing some real technical analysis. Okay, so our 4 hour, we talked about, I believe it was this fib draw here. So this was the most recent consolidation. So we had this fib draw. And then when we got to, I believe it was 27K, that fib draw basically topped out. Okay, so it became not useless, but useless in a sense to where it doesn't really help us moving forward with current price action, right? So the 4.236, it topped out, meaning it should have ideally been the local top for that leg upwards. Since it's not, we're going to take the next most recent fib draw, which is this 24.3K move to 21.9K. And that gave us a 2.618 at roughly 28.1K. All right, so in the market updates, we talked about how, if we reclaim this 28.1K fib, the next ideal target is that 3.618, right? So you move level to level, and that 3.618 is nicely confluent with our higher time frame 1.6 or 1618. So nice confluence there. So our low time frames are matching up with our high time frame analysis. So watch out for that 30.2, 30.5K region to potentially act as strong resistance. All right, and then if we flip that level, then you go to the 4.236 of that local fib draw, which would give you 32K, almost 32K even. All right. So as far as supply and demand zones on your 4 hour, the most obvious one is this 4 hour supply here at roughly 24K. So if price does come back down and retest this level, it is a bullish retest. It is speculative because we don't know if this zone is going to act as support just yet. All right. It's still untested. So we're speculating that it could potentially turn into support. But it is still untested. We don't know for sure, so we're gonna keep our eye on it. It's a region of interest for now if price does come back down to that level. Okay, and then another 4 hour demand zone. You could argue with me here. I would say there's 4 hour demand here as well. You could maybe even pull this up a little bit. So maybe somewhere around there, somewhere in this region where we wick down, or either where price failed to close below 3 times and tested it 3 times bullishly. So you have some 4 hour demand, moving downwards. So that's good to see. You don't want to see price just moving parabolically and not forming these support zones. When we do come back down and test it, if we do come back down and test it, that should be a nice region to potentially buy the dip. All right, so with that, we'll jump into the hourly. So the hourly chart is very much the same thing. Bullish market structure on all time frames. We talked about how our consolidation structure, right? So we had consolidation. So we had a little bit of a, I can't remember how I drew it. So I think it was like this. So we had consolidation up until this point. right? So with the low that happened, and then with the high that happened, we had a higher low and a higher high. So our market structure is now bullish again. Okay. So got that move up. This is the higher high, get the higher low. Now you're forming another higher high again. So you're very much trending bullishly on this hourly, and you expect that trend to continue, until you get that lower low. All right. So looking for this zone, and the only sign of weakness that you can really say, I don't care what the hourly candlestick looks like, I don't care what your 15-minute candlesticks look like. The first sign of weakness is making a lower low. Okay. And then that is the point blank period. That is your first real sign of a potential shift in trend as far as your hourly. Okay, so you can jump in and do the same exact analysis for your 15-minute, for your 5-minute, and so on. But this is this keeps it very simple. You might not save as much profit or whatever it may be, but just to keep it simple, just looking at your hourly chart until you get that lower low, lower than here. That's the low to hold at the moment. Until you get that, you can't really argue that there's too much signs of weakness. Okay, so your hourly 200 MAs are most definitely a area of interest. All right, so very, very strong support and resistance on both sides. Very often we see them act as local bottoms. Okay, so price trending upwards, you see this act as a local bottom before that next leg upwards. So is it likely that we test these MAs at the moment? No, we just talked about it. It's not likely. Our bullish market structure, or our market structure is bullish rather. So until that happens, it's not likely that we get a pullback into that 25.7K region where our hourly 200 MAs reside at this moment. Okay. Once you do get that breakdown in market structure, then you can look for those hourly 200 MAs, and you might be able to get a nice scalp off of them. This is a rough draft, right? So price comes down, test the 1 hour 200 MAs, and you target whatever your next resistance will be, right? These are dynamic moving averages, meaning they move with price. So they're not going to be here tomorrow. They're going to be moved up. We can jump into our 15-minute. I'm not sure if there's anything for us to really talk about. No, it doesn't look like it. 15-minute 200 MAs kind of stopped getting respected too well. They did somewhat get respected, right? So that's a top, and then you got a bullish retest, and that was your move upwards. From that move upwards, you got the breakout of this hourly supply zone, retested it, and now we're seeing another leg upwards above that 2.618 fib. Okay, so this is all-time highs. This is price discovery. So be bullish. The trend is bullish on all time frames. Your high time frame trend is bullish, and you're in price discovery. So be bullish. Hold that spot. Look to de-risk it. If you're in longs, look to de-risk at that 30K region speculatively, and just keep looking to ride that wave until it dies. All right, so that's Bitcoin. I don't think there's too much else we need to talk about. We will talk about ETH USD. ETH USD is getting a lot of hype at the moment, and we'll talk about why. This is a brand new analysis. We do have some drawings on. I wasn't expecting that. All right, so let's take a look. What did I have drawn here for ETH? So we drew this fib that gave us a 1.618. Hold on. Chart's a mess. Yeah, so 1.618 at $600, 2.618 at 780, and we also have some weekly supply there as well. It's like, okay, so weekly supply at 780 matches up nicely with our 2.618 fib, so it's possible that that's the next target for ETH as far as the USD pairing. Jump into the 4-hour. I will bring back that fib draw. Let's see if this fib gives us anything. All right. So that local fib that we just drew gave us a 1.618 of 754, which it looks like price is respecting at the moment. So if we break out from that, then we might get that, 4% move up into our next weekly resistance. So watch out for that. As far as the hourly, I know Defsu talked about it. I know some of you got long on ETH from his call. So on ETH on the hourly, he was looking for sort of an ascending triangle. Or maybe he drew it from here. Hold on. All right. That is the most recent high to low structure back in middle of December. And then we pulled back to 550-ish. Yeah, so Defsuo, I think, got long on this and made a call on it in his order flow analysis channel. But the idea was simple. Okay, the idea is you have supply, you have local supply, and you have demand moving up with every push up into the supply. So the supply is holding as resistance, but your buyers are stepping in earlier and earlier, right? So you have a bit of an ascending triangle sort of formation here. So now we've successfully broken out of the ascending triangle. You can see it on your hourly, but you can better see it on your 15-minute. We're now bullish retesting that previous supply at support, right? So this is now demand. So you're looking for that push up. You're getting pinched in between that 1.618 and your previous supply currently getting tested as support. Looking for that next move upwards into that 780 region. Okay, we'll do always show stats. Where is that? So a nice bullish retest. You could have even gotten long on the bullish retest. Gives you a nice RR. But this is a very valid trade. It's a very valid breakout of a resistance level. So it's possible we might see this continue on. What's up? What is the stop? Oh, it's just always show stats. So if you don't have this ticked on, when you get rid of that, when you don't hover over it, yeah, no problem. Let's see. Got a couple messages. Let me see here. All right, past 1 minute. Already got some on-demand TA requests. Cool. Love to see that. All right, so we talked about ETH USD. So we're watching for that 780 weekly supply region. We're watching for that 2.618 as confluence. We just got the breakout of that supply zone that was holding us down on our heads. But what really matters is ETH BTC. So we'll talk about ETH BTC. So Bitcoin's king right now. Bitcoin's kind of putting its foot down. We're in price discovery. So if ETH can't outperform Bitcoin, then what's the point? So ETH BTC looks like we broke out of this daily supply. It was previously support, managed to come down, test it, but we didn't see any real reaction from it. Immediately capitulated, right? And then we talked about it on our last live stream, how this looks very much like capitulation. Our volume agrees with that idea. We got very large buy volume spike on that capitulation candle. So very large buyback, looks like capitulation, right? So now we broke above our previous daily demand, which didn't really get a chance to act as supply. Immediately broke above it. Now it looks like we're retesting it as support once again. Okay, so this zone here was very significant back in April of 2020, back in June, and back in July as well. All right, and then it managed to act as support in November, and it looks like we could potentially be seeing it act as support once again. All right, so we're kind of chopping in beneath it. Obviously, this is very speculative. Every time we draw any sort of TA, it's very speculative. But we can make our market structure analysis. So what's our market structure? Our market structure at the moment is actually bullish, assuming we don't go below this low. Okay, once you go below this low, you now have a lower low. Obviously, that's a very drastic move in price action. Mercury, that doesn't really help me too much. That's 11% away. But that's the honest truth. Okay, you are anticipating that higher low because you got that higher high, you got that capitulation candle, you're sitting at support, right? So have your lower time frames turn bullish just yet? It looks like they're trying to. So ETH BTC currently consolidating within our hourly 200 MAs. So hourly 200 MA is green, hourly 200 EMA is the blue one. All right, so pinching in between those, pinching in between that daily demand region. So if we get that move upwards, anticipate this to be the higher low on your 4 hour and look for that higher high, right? Higher than here. And if we get that breakdown, maybe test this demand zone once again. If you lose this demand zone, then you could start looking for that lower low on a much bigger time frame, that much bigger sell off, which would be that drastic move that we just talked about. All right. So ETH BTC sort of in the middle of a potential big transition in trend on a higher time frame. All right. So when you have uncertainty like that, you can expect this sort of consolidation sideways. People don't really know what they want to do. Are altcoins going to bounce and outperform, or are they going to die off again? And this was just a big pump and a bearish retest of whatever level. So very key pivotal moment in the market right now. So we talked about ETH USD. Looks like it's going to get that next 4% move upwards. But the real question is ETH BTC going to outperform? All right. So we're not going to talk about dominance. There's not much going on dominance. It's still trending bullish. It doesn't really help us too much. There's nothing, there's no levels or support or resistance to talk about. So we're going to skip that for today. And we'll jump straight into any on-demand TA requests that you guys have. So right off the bat, Pass One Man has a couple. So Uni USDT, would you provide your perspective on an entry after all-time high is breached? In the desire to enter the trade, anticipating a breach of this all-time high, would you always wait for the breach and confirm with a daily candle, then hope for a pullback retest of previous high? That was a lot to take in. Hold on. Desire to enter the trade, anticipating a breach of this all-time high. Then hope for a pullback and retest of previous high. Okay, well, let's look at Uni USDT. Does Binance have the most price history? I'm not sure. Well, it looks okay. We're going to keep it. All right, so Uni USDT. Let's see if we have any. Looks like daily demand here. Looks like daily supply here. All right, so now we have a range. This very much looks like a range to me. So we can even go for a parallel channel and see if this does us any good. All right, yeah, I like that. So now we have a confirmed range. We'll bring price action to the front. All right. So currently, price is testing the high of this range. So when you do get that breakout upwards from this range, you don't anticipate the deviation. Deviation meaning price comes up, starts to break out above this range, looks like it's going to retest and break outwards, but instead you just fall back through and go back to the other side of the range. You don't anticipate the deviation, you anticipate the range breakout, and if the deviation happens, you throw your bias away and you scrap the trade entirely. All right, so you did get a deviation here, right? That's a very clean deviation. You had your breakdown below. You anticipate the breakdown below. Once you re-enter that range, you can anticipate the move up to the top of range. So if price breaks out above this range, we're looking for that bigger breakout. We're looking for potentially the golden pocket fib of whatever this draw gives us. So let's see. All right, so that fib draw gives us a golden pocket around $6. So yes, we could see this pop up into that golden pocket zone. When these ranges, especially when they consolidate for a very long time like this, for 2 months, you don't want to fade that breakout, meaning you really don't want to be a seller once this kind of starts to pick a direction, right? So even if you just look at our MAs, not looking at our price, this is going sideways very hard, right? For a very long time. So once you finally start to pick a trend, these MAs are going to curl upwards and you don't want to fade that momentum. All right. So I would just simply say there's a lot to your question, but in the desire to enter the trade anticipating a breach of this all-time high, would you always wait for the breach and confirm with a daily candle, then hope for a pullback retest of previous high? I'm not sure what all-time high you're referring to. The all-time high would be, I don't know if this really counts. I wouldn't count that. I would say all-time high is $8.60. So that's not a realistic, um, you know, thing right now. We're very much, we need 100% move to even start talking about all-time highs. So uh, I'm not going to talk about all-time highs. I don't want to give you some sort of false hope or whatever it may be. But there is a nice range breakout setup. Assuming this breaks out, you could look to enter in on that pullback and look for that golden pocket fib around $6. That would give you a 6.4 hour trade. That looks like a solid trade to me. Local all-time high. Local all-time high. All right, that's a very redundant sentence. But I'm assuming you're looking for the 4.48 move. So you could fib that as well. It doesn't need to be a daily candle. Obviously the more confirmation that you get, um, the better. But I would say, this range looks to get very well respected on the 4 hour. So if you saw the 4 hour break out and pull back, I would say that's good enough for me. There's a lot of squiggles here. I'm really sorry. But and then that local fib that we just drew could be like a halfway take profit for you. The 1.618. So maybe you front run that a little bit. 4R for your first TP and then 6.3R for your final TP. That looks like a solid trade to me. Range breakout. Okay, yeah. Cool. All right, so Rune USDT, similar price action. What variables are you considering as you watch these assets approach important levels to maximize gain and minimize risk? All right, so let's look at Rune USDT. Somebody went ahead of you with the Rune USDT request, man. Yeah, you put the no, it looks great, man. It really does. It looks great. So I forgot what fib draw did we have. I think we had this potentially. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so that looks like gives us some nice take profit levels. Looks like our 2.618 was respected very well. So that makes me want to continue using this fib. And then as an addition, you could even use these fibs as well. And wow, that gives us great confluence. So basically the same level within a penny of each other. So now I can just say, we'll delete that fib and we'll just stick with our higher time frame fib since it seems to be pretty spot on. Okay, so Rune USDT. I know DK got in on this. He's seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. You're seeing it's that same idea that we just talked about for ETH, where you have your supply zone but it continues to get diminished with every test, right? People are less and less likely to sell that region every time it gets tested. How many times until that region finally breaks out? You can't really say, but you can say that buyers are stepping in earlier than they were before with every move downwards, every move of this rejection. right? So very clean. Another potential ascending triangle here, right? So not clean ascending triangle, but the idea is the same, right? So you have test, low, test, higher low, test, higher low. Then you finally get that test and you close the candle in between and you get that breakout. And then you even get a somewhat nearly a bullish retest. Depending on how you draw this, everyone's going to be different. Maybe they draw theirs like this, and that was a perfect bullish retest. It's just a matter of what you see. But idea is the same. Bullish retest. Now it looks like we got that breakout from our supply zone. We retested it as demand. We saw a very nice reaction from it, right? A 9% reaction in a 4-hour candle off of a bullish retest is nothing to scoff at for sure. So this looks like it has a ton of strength. It looks like it's going for that 3.618 at $1.36. And then you break that and you look for your 4.236, which would be the ideal top for this up move, right? So for this move, now we've made our move upwards. So this sort of pullback created this leg upwards, and that 4.236 is the ideal top for that push upwards. Okay, so Ruin USDT looks very good. Looks like price discovery. Um, Binance is always weird. I don't think this wick really means anything to me. So I would say, this is in price discovery. It looks very strong. We got that bullish retest. So again, you don't want to fade that breakout. You don't want to be a short seller, when stuff is showing a bunch of strength like that. 1.19. Okay. Oh, well, that would be nice. That would be very good for you, huh? It would be very good for you. I hope that happens. I hope that happens, man. I really do. Right. So, I mean, it is a great looking chart. I totally bought that range breakout with DK. Hopefully, you guys did too. Would you have been comfortable getting in on the first 4-hour retest and close? Yes. Yes, I would have, and yes, I did actually. DK sent the idea into our SP workers group chat, which you guys obviously don't have access to. And did I say DP? I meant DK. Um, but his idea was long the retest, stop loss. I can't remember where he put it, somewhere around here, I think. And then I believe he targeted here, and I believe he targeted the next fib as well. So this was the trade that we actually took. I'm in this trade right now as we speak. And that's just DK sent the idea. I already had notifications for this if it broke out. We had Confluence, and he said, all right, I'm going to send it to the group. So hopefully you saw that trade because it is in profit at the moment. It looks great. We're continuously making higher highs and higher lows on these lower time frames. We jump into the hourly. This is very much a bullish market structure. Not sure if any of our MAs are giving us Confluence. I would think it would be too late. Let's see. So if you entered here, I wouldn't want to put my stop loss below the 5-minute 200 MAs because they don't seem to get respected very well. And then so the next level that I would look for is this low, but then it doesn't make sense because your stop loss is inside of a demand zone. So even if this breaks down and tests this zone again, this is support, right? So there's no point in me market selling at support. So, that doesn't make sense. That's your next low. So then you have to move downwards from that. So then this low. And that way you're below your support, so it makes sense. And so that doesn't really give us a great RR. That gives us 2R. Assuming, you take profit here as well, it'll probably be more like 1R when you're all said and done with it. So 23% move worth 1R potentially over the next course of a week. Not worth it in my opinion. Right? So basically the idea there is you can't put your stop loss you can't put your stop loss here because your market selling support, and you can't put your stop loss here because the 5-minute 200 MAs don't really get well respected, right? So they somewhat get respected. So I mean, how many times, right? So it gets tapped one, so that's one respect, breaks straight through, and then break straight through, two, right? And then you get these wicks down, so maybe three, right? So it's not really getting respected too well, especially this price action here. So can't put your stop loss there, can't put your stop loss there. So you have to put your stop here, and that gives you a 2R trade. So is it too late to enter now? Yes. Um, all right. So what time frame are you trading? My question. 15 minutes. Okay, so where did you enter? 25 or 28.5? 28.5 with a stop loss below 28K. Yeah, that looks like it makes sense in my opinion. Um, yeah, looks like a good trade. That looks, yeah, I think so too, actually. Do you follow me on Twitter? Is that why? Is that why you said that? It's just Trader Mercury. I actually tweeted this setup as well as I tweeted. I think BTC goes to 30K in the next 48 hours. Tweeted that last night. So that was kind of uncanny that you showed me the setup that I literally tweeted an hour ago, uh, and also said 30K in 24 hours, and I said both of those things. Yeah, that was a little uncanny, but yeah, that's unofficial. That's unofficial. That's Trader Mercury outside of SP. Okay, that's just me doing my own thing on my own time. I sometimes send my personal trades. I don't send my trades to you guys for reasons that I've explained before. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. All right. So Past One Man has a bunch of requests. So Vet USDT is his next one, and then Ren USDT after that. So Vet USDT. Oh, well, this looks great. It looks like RTA is getting respected. I love drawing this stuff in live streams when you guys ask me questions on it and then coming back later when you request it again and the setup is working out in our favor. Okay, so Vet USDT, I'm pretty sure I would have said, considering that we just deleted that uh, drawing, this little brush here, breakout above the supply zone probably leads to another test of that previous high. And then from there, you can even look for another target as well in a 1.618 fib. And that lines up pretty nicely, actually, with that local high. So if you break that, you could then look for that 2.618 at 3 cents. Okay, so that's not what I wanted to do. Jump into the hourly. It looks like we got that breakout, we got the retest. So, if we did talk about it on live stream, which I'm pretty sure we did, I think I even sent out a setup. you should have been able to get in on this. Target at the moment, since we are still making a bullish market structure, would look to me to still be this zone here, this 1.618 confluent with our all-time high. I believe that's all-time high. And that looks to be the target at the moment. Until you see that structure break, meaning until you see price trade below these lows again, you can then anticipate that it'll test this demand zone again. And if we test the demand zone too many times, we'll fall through it, potentially come down and test our 1 hour 200 MAs. Okay, so that USDT looks very good. You could even try an entry right here, right now. But again, we would have to put our stop loss here because the most ideal region, which would be below this low, puts our stop loss directly into high time frame demand, which means we would be market selling support. So unfortunately, less of a probability trade on something that looks very good, but it's still valid. We are still making higher highs and higher lows. So this is a valid trade in my opinion. This is something that you could look to take. It's not something that I will take for the reasons that I just discussed, but it is valid. It is there if you want it. VET USDT, that's my opinion on that. REN USDT. I know REN's had some pretty crazy price movement recently. Something DeFi related. Okay, so it looks like we managed to hold our 200 daily moving averages, got that push upwards. Let's see if there's any supply or demand zones here for us. All right, so those are two supply zones, and then we'll just go ahead and draw out a demand for now as well. Not that we need it, but it's always nice to have it there to come back and look later. All right, so current price action looks like it ripped upwards into that daily supply zone, got rejected, and it was such an impulsive move. We pretty much just went straight upwards for 24 hours, 48 hours, and that was a 60% move into daily supply. So, when you have an impulsive move like that, it's much more speculative to buy something on a pullback. So you want to be careful, of course. This is very strong support, but the impulsive move led to a straight up breakdown from that support. And then not only that, but we also managed to see another impulsive move up into it, and we bearish retested it, and we're currently getting rejected from that bearish retest as well. Okay, so while your 4 hour, just look at your 4 hour market structure, right? So your 4 hour market structure is very much going bearish, right? So lower lows, lower highs. Then all of a sudden you get a lower high, you follow up with a higher low, and then you just rip upwards 65%. Okay, so your 4 hour market structure can still technically turn bullish off of this. Well, it is bullish at the moment, technically speaking, but you're looking for these 4 hour 200 MAs potentially to be that higher low once again, higher than here. And if you lose them, I would look for that full on breakdown. I would think we make that lower low once again. Maybe we even test this demand zone again. And in that case, it would have been beneficial for us to have drawn it, right? So your daily, well, actually, I don't know if your daily is actually bullish, but your 4 hour is bullish, but your hourly is currently trending bearish into that 4 hour support. So that's a much different context than if we just straight up pull backed and maintained a bullish market structure on our hourly and then tested our 4 hour trend. Okay, so much different context there. So we are trending bearishly into that 4 hour potential support, into those 4 hour 200 MAs where we would look for that higher low. But it's not looking great at the moment. Just bearish retested this. So the real hopium here starts when this is your low, this is your high, this becomes a higher low, And now all of a sudden you've made another higher high above here, and you're trading above this demand zone or above this supply zone again as demand. And then from there, you can look to get long up into the daily supply once again for a 4-hour trade. So, you could speculatively buy those 4-hour 200 MAs. It looks like they would even be confluent with our hourly 200 MA or EMA. So you could buy that, stop loss beneath, and then your invalidation is pretty nice because if we do break below the hourly 200 EMA, we test the hourly 200 MA, we're also testing the 4-hour 200 MAs. We break below that, then that kicks in that idea that we might be coming down to form that higher low, or I'm sorry, that lower low before or below here, and test this demand zone once again. All right. So many squiggles. Whatever. G Logo sent me a coin trader. Thank you. Raven USDT, VeChain, Litecoin USDT. All right. Usually I have to beg for you guys to give me on-demand TA requests when we do these live streams. Now you're just all over it. All right. Raven USDT. Let's zoom out here a bit. Okay, so it looks like that's all that's going to help us. So do we have some demand here? It looks like we do. I'll actually draw a line here. Okay, so that looks to be daily support. Maybe even pull it down a little bit. So that looks to me to be daily support. So if we break below that daily support, you very much risk going for all-time lows once again. And your market structure on your daily chart is bearish. Okay, so very much a bearish market structure. You're trading below your 4-hour 200 MAs. You're trading below your 200 daily MAs. Getting rejected by 4-hour 200. Looks like we have the potential to form a higher low here, but you want to anticipate the lower low. Even though this is daily support, you want to anticipate that lower low because that is your trend at the moment. Don't want to fight the trend. So we're very much trending bearish on every single time frame. So there's no setup here for me. There's nothing that interests me at all whatsoever. The first point of interest is when we reclaim these hourly 200 MAs, and in my opinion, that would be a very significant event, considering we haven't done that. We haven't traded above those MAs for the past 9 days, 10 days. So doing so would make me think I could at least catch some sort of a low time frame scalp. But again, you want to trade things that are much higher probability, and this is not a higher probability trade, even though it is a valid setup, even though it is a valid reversal, and you could get that nice 10% pop or whatever it may be. That's not a real target. I kind of just, it's just wherever. But even if you did get that 10% pop, you want to look for things that are more probable. You want to look for things that aren't trending bearishly on your high time frames. So to be plain and honest, this chart does not interest me at all whatsoever. VeChain, we just talked about VeChain, so I'll skip to Litecoin USDT. All right, so much different context already, right? So our hourly is trending. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure, man. I'll do it after the live stream if that's okay with you. All right. Yeah, no problem. So Litecoin USDT, let's mark out some zones. Let's see, is there anything here for me? Looks like there is. And then if we zoom in, On our 4 hour, there's probably more for us. Hold on. All right. So Litecoin, very much bullish uptrend, right? Our market structure is bullish, higher highs, higher lows. We did tap that resistance, but when you're tapping resistance in a bullish market structure, it's the same thing as when you're downtrending into support. You want to anticipate that trend to hold, right? So that is just simply a take profit region, and maybe de-risk, maybe close out your longs, whatever it may be, and look to get in on the next pullback. Okay, so we're anticipating this trend to hold. So at the moment, it looks to me like this is our market structure, right? So now I'm anticipating this looks to be a higher low to me, higher than this low. So now this is our new invalidation. So if we trade below here, all of a sudden this looks very heavy to me. Looks like we would have broken our market structure and potentially come down and test this demand zone once again. Okay, and maybe even if we do test that demand zone, maybe even our 4 hour 200 MAs will be confluent with that idea. All right, so bullish market structure. So now we'll jump into our hourly, and we can confidently say that this is holding the hourly 200 MAs. They look to be nice scalp long levels on the way upwards when this is trending bullishly. So I would even say this looks good for a potential leg upwards. Maybe even we break out above here. We head for our next supply level, which I did not mark out. We'll do that right now, actually. So our weekly chart. Okay. So to me, we haven't talked about this yet, but I want to mark out this point of breakdown. So this, we'll talk about what that is in 1 second. Hold on. 172.10. So a point of breakdown is a candle that opens and immediately just sees a sell-off. Okay, so that is a point of breakdown. I don't know how else to kind of word it. A candle that opens and just immediately sees a sell-off. Not much of a wick. We typically see these candles kind of act as um, almost like your CME gaps in your traditional market, right? So this candlestick, you can see this as sort of a um, gap to fill almost. All right, and then your point of breakdown would be the ultimate target from that candle, from that gap to fill. Okay, so meaning if we break above this weekly or daily supply zone, whichever it is, there shouldn't be too much resistance in between here and here. Okay, meaning you can look for that long to catch that move upwards. All right, so now when we zoom into our hourly once again, I would even say this looks to be a very solid trade. Okay, we're going to target our point of breakdown. Right, so you have a 4.7R trade, assuming you entered now, and you have a 4R trade, assuming you enter at, what is this? 10% higher, 11% higher, right? So our entry doesn't matter, the setup does. Right, and this is obviously just a rough draft, but this setup is something you can take right now. This looks very good to me. Our trend is bullish on all time frames. If we break below our previous low on the 4 hour, we break our 4 hour market structure. We also lose our hourly 200 MAs. So a lot needs to go wrong in order for this to stop us out. So this is what I am discussing when I talk about I'm looking for high probability and good RR trades. This is something that I would look to take right now if I didn't already have so much Litecoin exposure on spot. Okay, I'm going to be honest. There's no reason for me to long Litecoin right now. It's just additional risk that I don't really need. But assuming you have no exposure to Litecoin right now, this looks like a very valid trade that you could jump into right here, right now, and look for that breakout above that daily supply zone. So good eye. You said you were watching those three charts. Raven does not look good, but the other two do look good. All right. PXLD wants XMR. Hopefully XMR USDT. All right. So what should we fib here? Let's look at this fib. I want to see what this gives us. All right, so it looks like that 1.618 got very well respected. And it looks like we broke above, we formed some supply here, and we managed to break above it and retest it as demand. And we're now seeing our bullish market structure on the daily continue on after bullish retesting this zone. And I would very much anticipate that 2.618 to get tapped on a much larger time frame. Okay. So if you hold XMR, everything I just said should have excited you. For our 4-hour chart, this is pretty weird, kind of smushed together price action. It's not ideal. I don't really like it too much, but our market structure is bullish, very much higher highs, higher lows. I would argue that this is our low to hold. Once you break below that, it would seem to me like we would come down and test our 4-hour 200 MAs again. And because this is bullish trending on your daily time frame, you could then look to buy that dip, buy that pullback, and your long-term target once again would be that 213 region. Okay, so this is another setup that if we did pull back into those 4-hour 200 MAs, which they likely wouldn't be here, they would probably be like somewhere over here. This looks like another solid setup in my opinion. Okay, because once your stop loss gets hit, you've now traded below this demand zone, meaning you're losing it as support. And then that opens the door to head to your next 4-hour demand at $110. Okay, so that's a pretty significant sell-off. So I wouldn't want to hold throughout that breakdown. So this looks like another solid trade that you could take. Very bullish on all time frames. Looks like we're holding our 200 MAs at the moment on the hourly, but they don't really seem to get too well respected. So probably wouldn't pay too much attention to them. And then as far as hourly supply and demand, doesn't look like there's too much here for us. I would say maybe this little region here where we came up and tested a couple times. So, if it doesn't give you that pullback into those 4-hour 200 MAs, you could get in on the flip of this zone and then take it from there. Okay. So again, this is where we're talking about RR. We're thinking in the terms of a trader, and where we enter doesn't really matter. It's the RR on the trade, on the setup that of which we enter on. Okay, so this is a scenario where entering higher is actually more beneficial than if you pulled back, because you're getting an additional 2R on that trade. Okay, and in this way, you're playing the trend, you're playing the momentum upwards, and the opposite way, you're actually playing the sell off, the potential buy the dip into a higher time frame trend test. But overall, this looks good. Raven as more of a long term trade, not short term. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to hold it. I just straight up would not want to hold this. This is not something that interests me at all. Bearish trending, all time frames, right? Even our weekly chart. So we found support here, got a nice reaction, came down, tested it again, got a smaller reaction, came down, tested it again, and we got a smaller reaction yet again. 10% bounce off of it, right? So I'm not looking to hold this stuff that's downtrending. I'm not looking to speculate a potential high time frame reversal because it's not probable. It's just not probable. The trend, our market structures, everything is telling us to expect lower lows and lower highs, right? So until that changes, until you see price break out of this market structure, there's not really much here for me to even want to consider this. And at that point, you could look for, looks like we have supply here. Right. So until all this happens, this is not a chart that interests me at all whatsoever. On XRP USDT, do I see signs of a reversal? All right, let's take a look at it. All right, so XRP. So we did test weekly demand on that crazy down move, crazy sell-off that we had. Delete this fib. It's no longer helpful. Then we have weekly supply in this region. And then let's jump into our daily. Do I see signs of a reversal? No. We are testing weekly demand. So if there was time to speculate a buy, now would be the time. I mean, not now, but within this zone would have been the time, but we're now 20% above that zone, right? So that would be the time to speculate that reversal because you're at a very strong support level. But the context of the situation is you're downtrending into the support rather than just nicely pulling back into it, and your trends are bullish, right? At the moment, your trends are bearish on every single time frame, unless our hourly and 15-minute look good, and your trends are bearish. 4-hour, let's see. No, looks like lower lows, lower highs. Right? So even if you want to consider this a high, it's still a lower high. So just from the analysis that we've done thus far, I would say I want to see another breakout above this zone here, which I believe we said that was daily supply. I believe. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that was daily supply. So you want to see that flip of that level. Then you can start to speculate a reversal because at that point you've probably put in the higher low, and if you break above the demand or you break above the supply zone, you could probably anticipate the higher high as well. It's still speculative. Reversal plays low probability. Hourly chart. Let's see. So you have high, higher low, lower high. So now this looks like consolidation to me on your hourly. So it looks like your 4-hour could potentially be breaking bullish, but your high time frames are bearish, so there's no reason to speculate that. And your hourly is consolidating, right? So pretty soon you might see some people start to draw some symmetrical triangles on this or whatever it may be, but it doesn't necessarily need to line up on a trend line per se, but it's more so just the fact that we are making lower highs and higher lows. However they are going to draw this, because it's probably going to happen. Unless we straight up break down and break below this low again, at which point we are definitely bearish on every single time frame. Okay, so do I see signs of reversal? No. Because we are consolidating on the hourly, I want to give this consolidation a bearish edge. Okay, meaning our higher time frames are bearish. The trend prior to consolidating was bearish. So nothing really screams out to me to anticipate any sort of reversal. All right. So I want to give this this consolidation of bearish edge. So now you have bearish consolidation on your hourly. Your 4 hours is most definitely bearish. Your daily is bearish, and your weekly is somewhat near weekly support. So is that weekly support going to hold, going to hold, excuse me, and be the bottom, or is it going to get, are we going to fall through it? Trend at the moment says we're going to fall through it eventually. So I stick with that until until this consolidation breaks out, and then we can look for that. Um, that would be a pretty significant move up into our hourly 200 MAs and that daily supply zone that we talked about. So, do I see signs of a reversal? No, and I don't see a reason to want to speculate that reversal, because waiting for this consolidation to break out and then playing just the impulse of the bearish retest from that breakout would be significant enough to where you shouldn't need to feel to enter in on this at the moment, I would say. No FA involved. I don't care about any of the SEC stuff, whatever. I'm not good with that stuff anyways. This is what the chart is telling me. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. All right. Halfbit said ADA USDT in on-demand TA, and Halfbit is in here. Okay. So we'll take a look at ADA USDT. All right. So this looks like right off the bat, this reminds me of ETH. This reminds me of VeChain. This reminds me of Rune. Okay, very similar, very, very similar. High time frames, bullish. Higher highs, higher lows on your daily time frame. Let's see, before I start rambling, see if there's any weekly zones that we need to be worried about. So it does look like this is weekly supply to some degree. Can maybe even extend it. That's pretty big and bulky. We'll shorten it up. So weekly supply. No, we'll get rid of that because we can further break it down in our daily chart. Daily gives us a more precise zone, and it's more local price action, so it's more relevant, and it's more precise, so it helps us more. So I'll ignore the weekly zone for that reason, since we have a daily zone within the same area. So it looks like we just broke above that daily supply zone, and we're currently bullish retesting it on the current daily candle. So now I would be looking for targets. I would be looking for, if this bullish retest holds and continues upwards, where can I target? So the first thing that jumps to mind is I want to draw some fibs. So I can draw this fib, and that is the high to low of the previous consolidation. And because I don't know, I'm also going to draw this fib. And that is the reasoning behind that is this is just the most prior high to low to the breakout. Okay, so in my opinion, they're both relevant. If this 1.618 doesn't get respected, then I'll delete this fib and I'll look for the other one to get respected. But at the moment, I want both. I want both, and I'm going to look for the reaction later. And so 4 hour chart, you can clearly see the bullish retest that we just had in today's daily candle. So from there, I want to see this zone hold, and then it looks like we have 4 hour demand here as well. Okay, so nice confluence within this region, all acting as support. So if you have spot ADA, which I know a lot of you do, I would hold on to it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's a setup for me here, right now. There would be if we targeted the higher 1.618, but I'm not sure which one's going to get respected better. So I feel like I'm speculating. So in my opinion, in my personal trading, I wouldn't take a setup on this. If you manage to get in on the breakout or on the pullback retest, then there's a setup for you. But right here, right now at current price, there's nothing here for me. So no setup, unfortunately, because, and it's unfortunate because this is bullish. This is very bullish trending, bullish market structure on your 4 hour, right? So you want to anticipate that trend to continue until at least your hourly breaks, and maybe it's already broken. We don't know. No, so it looks like your hourly is consolidating. So your hourly chart to me kind of just looks like, oh, I guess it's bearish actually. Yeah, I guess it is bearish. Yep, bearish market structure on your hourly, holding the demand. So could we come back down and test these hourly 200 MAs again? Yes, and it would also be confluent with that 4 hour demand zone that we drew. So in that case, there's another setup for you. Because at that point, your daily is still bullish, your 4 hours still bullish. So that would be a nice, solid, long setup for me if we did get that pullback. Considering your hourly is currently trending bearish with lower lows and lower highs. And this hourly candle is pretty ugly. No real TA here, but it's just very ugly. It's a long wick on top of it that shows me sellers very much stepped in. We're ready to sell. Let's see. For what? What was it? Going on ETH? No. Fundamentally, no, dude. I have no clue about fundamentals at all whatsoever. I'm very clueless when it comes to fundamentals. Yeah, I look at charts and that's about all I'm good for. Yeah, that 777, it's like that 780. It's that 2.618 fib. I believe it was 778 or whatever it was. And then right above that at like 780, we have like weekly supply from like 780 to 800 in that region. It's a very broad region, but it's a weekly supply zone, so it's okay to be pretty not precise with it. It's okay to deviate pretty largely. So dot USDT, another on-demand request. All right. Get rid of all this. Get rid of all this. All right. So dot USDT currently trading in price discovery. So right off the bat, that speaks out to me. So it looks like we were consolidating in this zone, and we broke out from it finally. So now this zone also speaks out to me. That tells me previous consolidation. We got the breakout. So I'm looking for the fib extensions from this breakout. You can also do similar to the exact same analysis that you see daily on our Bitcoin analysis. You can also do the previous all-time high to the low. So 1.618 of that is 890. 2.618 of our more local consolidation is 875. So now we have some nice confluence there. So I like that. I like confluence always when I can get it. At the moment, your 4 hour currently trending bullish. I would say the level you want to see is this 660 zone get tested again for that big move upwards. That would be the ideal pullback retest for this trade. Okay, I would just put my stop below the previous wick, below the previous low, and look to target that 2.618 fib. All right, currently we're breaking out above the 1.618. Now remember, these do not hold as support and resistance. Okay, if you're drawing from top to bottom, you're looking for resistances, they don't act as support. Very often, what we see is our low time frames respect that area as resistance, and it forms a supply zone. And then, so when we break out above it and come back down to it, we're now testing a lower time frame demand zone because that fib was getting respected. So we'll jump in, look at the hourly, see if we got that. Oh, so it doesn't look like it just looks like we formed some hourly demand, maybe some 15-minute demand. Okay, so what I just said is not getting very well respected here at all, is it? We didn't respect this as resistance. We kind of just broke above it, and we're trading above it as support. So if you didn't trust me, you would think that everything I just said was complete garbage. But we have hourly or 15-minute demand, however you want to look at it, and this just simply looks like consolidation to me. And now we're uptrending on these lower time frames. So personally, I would still be looking for that pullback down, but our trend tells us it's not likely, unfortunately. Trend on the hourly, our trend on the 4-hour, all tell us that, hey, this is in price discovery. We're trending bullishly. So it's not likely that you're going to get your pullback long. But if you do, that'd be great. That'd be ideal. So since our low time frames are telling us it's not likely, you could even try and trade this right now and then re-long it with, like, after you get stopped out, look to get in on that pullback. So this is the trade you can take right now. This is the fail safe if this trade gets stopped out. So this looks solid to me. It looks like you could take this. I would think price gets to this 2.618 fib eventually. Whether we break out from here or whether we get the pullback retest, perfect pullback retest on our previous supply zone as demand, and then get that push upwards, I would think price moves up to that region sooner than later. Thanks once again for your TA. I gained more trading ideas and improved diagnosis of price action. You're on Twitter as Trader Mercury. Yes, my Twitter is at Trader Mercury. And I'm very glad that you are learning anything from me. So I appreciate it. To answer your previous question, if you were going to inject USD into your portfolio today, what would you consider? Oh man, that's a hard question. That is such a difficult question. Well, it looks good right now. I mean, a lot of the stuff, oh, this is not my usual trading view. A lot of the stuff that we just talked about, everything that I said, it's looking bullish, and it's bullish trending on higher time frames. Everything that we talked about where I said that are things that I would consider injecting USD into my portfolio for. So we talked about Litecoin, we talked about VeChain, Rune. What were some other ones? What was another one that we looked at that was bullish trending? ETH, BTC obviously is in price discovery. So DOT looks good. So if you're just talking about spot and you're just looking to buy spot and ride the move up to the 2.618, those are things that I would be looking for and considering. I would want to buy strength. I want to buy the uptrending coins that have pulled back into low time frame supports and are potentially retesting their higher time frame trends. I'm looking to buy all that stuff today. So that would be your VeChain, your Litecoin, DOT. What else do we talk about? Rune. I can't remember anything else that we talked about, but a lot of stuff that we looked at today was bullish trending, if I do recall. XMR was another one. ADA was another one. So a lot of these coins. Hopefully that helps. All right. All right, buddy. All right, no problem. See you Friday. All right, guys. Time to hit the snow. Ooh, that sounds like fun, man. That sounds like fun. All right, and with that, I'm also going to get out of here. Doesn't look like anyone else has any on-demand TA requests for me, so we are back Friday. So look out for Friday. We will be back again for the next live stream. All right, so thanks for coming and hanging out with me, guys, and take it easy.